Hello, my name is Jeremiah Fioravanti. I'm an assistant professor of biology with HAC, Central Pennsylvania's Community College. I'm also the first vice president of the Delaware County Institute of Science, DCIS, founded in 1833. And this talk is a summary of a public presentation I gave titled Researching the Process of Writing Women Back into STEM. This talk was largely based on my sabbatical year awarded by HAC during the academic year 2014 to 2015. I had three objectives. One, to preserve notable artifacts at the DCIS. For example, the new manual exercise by General Blakeney, published in 1747 and connected to Benjamin Franklin. Two, to host a lecture series with a majority of female presenters for the first time since our lecture format was established in the 1930s. And three, to research the contributions of women in STEM that supported the DCIS. My contribution was focused on the conchologist, Kay Barr. What is STEM? STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. Since the arts and sciences have a shared history, creativity, and exploration, you will often hear the acronym STEAM, where the word arts is inserted between engineering and mathematics. So why do we have a problem retaining and recruiting women scientists in the STEM disciplines? These statistics I'm about to present are from the 2014 Verizon #InspireHerMind campaign. Women make up about half the workforce, but only a quarter of the STEM jobs. 80% of the jobs in the next decade will require technology skills. STEM job growth is outpacing the economy by 300%. There are currently 3 million unfilled STEM jobs in the U.S. as of 2014. Gender stereotypes start young. Only 14% of teenage girls want to become scientists. When they're shown what engineers can do, 76% of the girls get interested. And 66% of fourth grade girls report that they like science and math, but by college, only 18% of the engineering majors are females. This is what's called the leaky pipeline, where you lose a little bit along the line. I was able to explore freely during my sabbatical. I created a Google Ngram, which was based on the words women in science. Google basically samples scanned books that they have in their database and look for the descriptive data related to the words. It's not a strict statistical analysis, but it does provide a basic description of what you're looking for to hint at where further research can be done. This Ngram viewer has a y-axis of percentage of occurrence of words in Google scanned books, and the x-axis, which I selected, were the years 1800s to 2000. You can see a general upward trend, basically starting in the 1960s to the 2000s, which coincides with major cultural advancements such as Title IX, the advent of birth control, and HR, employment diversity initiatives. Over my sabbatical year, there were many popular articles about challenges and progress for women in science. The links to these are posted on our HAC LibGuide. So, for instance, the New York Times had an article about whether professors can be perceived as bossy or brilliant, which depends on gender. In Nature News, there was a report of female scientists being sexually harassed during fieldwork. And then NPR had an article about how leaning in may be the only way for women to succeed in science, essentially applying energy against barriers. More research involved the number of Nobel Prize awarded to female scientists. The Nobel Prize and Prize in Economic Sciences have only been awarded to women 49 times in between 1901 and 2015. Only one woman, Marie Curie, had been honored twice, with the 1903 Nobel Prize in Physics and the 1911 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. So a total of 48 women were actually honored. Her daughter also was awarded a shared Nobel Prize later on. But you can see how the trend goes from very few to, from 2001 to 2015, to being generally more women earning Nobel Prizes. During my sabbatical, I was afforded the luxury to think about the subject that I was researching. I was fortunate enough to be exposed to Science Friday's radio segment, Writing Women Back into Science History. This segment really clarified the subject for me because women have been participating in science all throughout human history. After all, the word science essentially derives from the roots to know, basically to explore nature. The podcast and website really highlighted that women have been involved in science, but historically have been overshadowed by stories written about male scientists. If you'd like, I encourage you to review this link and go check it out for yourself. Dr. Kathy Hornberger, Associate Professor of Science at Widener University and Curator of Botany at the DCIS, gave a lecture titled The Legacy of Phoebe and Matilda, Contributions by Women at the Delaware County Institute of Science, Media, Pennsylvania. Remember that we were founded in 1833, but women were not admitted to membership until 1846, and then only as associate members. Since 1833, there have been over 2,100 members, with 575 of them being women, which is about 27% of our total. There are many and varied contributions of women to the Institute, representing the Institute at public events, donating to the Institute, and serving as officers at the Institute. However, there is lots of evidence of men's contribution in our halls and displays, but only 4 examples of women. On the first floor, we have a painting of Matilda Cummings. On the second floor, we have a plaque commemorating Miriam Reynolds. We also have a plaque that commemorates Eleanor Cademan. And on the third floor, we have Kay Barr's shell collection and fellowship plaque. Kay Barr was who my sabbatical was focused on. Kay Ann Barr lived from 1928 to 1999. She was a conchologist, vice president, and fellow of the Delaware County Institute of Science. During her childhood and adolescence, she traveled. She traveled to England with her family. Her father was an active professional who held several patents. She went to high school at the Ogon School for Young Ladies in Abington, Pennsylvania, which ran from 1850 to 1950. This school was involved in female private education. It taught social graces. Some of the best writers, poets, musicians, and artists visited the school. Carl Sandburg, Angela Morgan, Amelia Earhart was a famous alumni. Eventually, the state began to question the nonprofit status and demand flagged. Principal Abby Sutherland donated the school to Penn State College, and today it has become Penn State Abington. As a high school student, Kay won the Bausch & Lomb Honorary Science Award on June 2, 1946. It is interesting to note that bronze was actually curtailed at this time due to the war efforts. The Bronze Award was established in 1932. It was presented by faculty to seniors who made the greatest progress in science during the last 3 years of their high school work. Originally, it was presented in New York, and later it is presented in every state and some territories. It had become a symbol of national recognition for exceptional work by high school students. In Kay's emerging adulthood, she went to college at Wells College in Aurora, New York. This was established by Henry Wells, the founder of Wells Fargo. It was an all-women's college at the time. It went co-ed in 2005. Rich in tradition, surrounded by natural beauty. As a freshman, her residence was listed as Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, and she was artistically inclined during this time of her life, and she was starring in a musical production of Our Town. Kay graduated with a B.S. magna cum laude in 1950. She published a senior essay on honors problems in mathematics, where she had to state certain necessary conditions involving its characteristics that an algebraic curve type be self-dual, prove which of these are sufficient and which are only necessary. After she graduated in adulthood, she married Norman Barr. They raised a family, had 2 daughters, moved frequently, and enjoyed many avocations, essentially hobbies and skills: woodworking, tatting or lacework, dog raising, and training. During this time, she also displayed a passion for shells. She was interested in shells during visits to Sanibel Island in Florida, which is one of the world's famous shelling beaches. During her adulthood, she was also a member and supporter of the arts and sciences. She belonged to Jersey Cape Shell Club. She was involved as a shell collector. Remember, shell collecting is gathering shells for aesthetic purposes, often incorporated into some form of art. She had actually built a personal collection at this time, and she was involved in the Jersey Cape Shell Club in Cape May, New Jersey. She collected, traded, and purchased shells. In 1986, she earned a Certificate of Appreciation for helping make the Shell Show a success. And in 1995, she won first place at a shell show. Also during her adulthood, she became a supporter of the Delaware County Institute of Science. According to Shirley Warren, the DCIS librarian, currently deceased, Shirley said that Kay found us in a telephone directory, helped with it all from top to bottom, cleaning 6 to 7 years, including stripping cabinets, improving presentations, and cataloging collections. Philosophically, she knew where the Institute was going. She understood the spirit of the place, the spirit of volunteerism. She is also described as being active, meticulous, and integral to the Delaware County Institute of Science that we now have. Here is a newsletter announcement of Kay's involvement, and here is a sketch of the Institute in Delaware County, Media, Pennsylvania. DCIS has a large marine shell collection, 4,377 shells. During her time, Kay was a curator of mollusks with us. She would be considered a conchologist, a person who studies the shells of mollusks. DCIS eventually received her shells as gifts. This collection is currently on display on the north side balcony of the Institute. The collection itself ranges from the early 1900s to present date. We have over 100 families of shells, with the greatest number of shells belonging to marine bivalves and univalves. We also have a significant land and freshwater component to our collection. We have 965 shells, which include freshwater mollusks. Kay worked with Jans Schasma to curate this collection. She also worked with Al Chadwick, and she had a publication from these efforts called Freshwater Mollusks Family Unity. The land snails, freshwater bivalves, chitons, and cephalopods are retained in our collections. Among the most rare shells in the collection are among our freshwater bivalves, which most species are largely extinct. From all of her efforts, Kay was awarded a fellowship in 1994. Here's a picture of her with our former president, Al Palmer. After many hours of helping classify and identify shells that go back to as far as Grace Anna Lewis, one of our first notable female contributors to the Institute, in her commemoration, it said, whereas the DCIS has from time to time acted to confer the honor of fellowship upon those members recognized in scientific communities beyond the Institute, thereby gaining honor and prestige for the Institute, And whereas one of our members has been recognized nationally and internationally in the fields of conchology and malacology as an expert, it is the resolution that the DCIS K.M. Barr be designated as a Fellow of the Institute. This was in 1994. Other fellows include Roger Mitchell, our current president at the Delaware County Institute of Science. And we are looking at posthumously awarding a fellowship to Grace Anna Lewis currently. Kay Barr eventually became an officer, a vice president of the Institute. She assisted with the business of the Institute, helped adopt revisions to our bylaws, and helped acquire our stair chair for handicapped visitors to access our upper floor. Kay wrote a very nice letter of thanks in regards to her fellowship. From the day I rumbled down the streets of Aurora, New York in the Wells Fargo coach, then married, raised 2 daughters, moved some 40-odd times in around 3 countries, and spent time studying and enjoying many and varied avocations, nothing in my experience had prepared me for the surprise and delight of being chosen to be a Fellow of the Delaware County Institute of Science. Thank you so very much for this honor and the lovely framed certificate. I shall do my best to confirm that your faith in me has not been misplaced. This was written by Kay. She died at the age of 71. She's buried in West Laurel Hill Cemetery. After her death, her family contributed to the New Century of Science campaign at Wells College and attended memorials for her specifically at the Delaware County Institute of Science. So she's left a legacy that is upstairs at the Delaware County Institute of Science. I invite you to come view it at any time. What does this legacy do? This legacy simply inspires the next generation. It's available to visitors of the Institute. We have an active junior club, which includes many young female participants. And we've been around long enough to see the arc of time, where even high school students who come around and get interested in the Institute eventually go on to undergraduate and graduate programs. This is Lindsay Gaskins. She gave a lecture during our 2014-2015 lecture series on her research at Mote Marine Laboratory in regards to sharks and policy. And she's a graduate of Duke University. That's it for my talk. I'd like to thank Harrisburg Area Community College, HAC, Central Pennsylvania's Community College, for granting me the luxury of the sabbatical, Paul Catania Esquire for sponsoring the lecture that I gave at the Institute, Dr. Kathy Hornberger for her support of researching women in science, Dr. Craig Hilleman for providing statistics that I incorporated into this report, and Jessica Linker, University of Connecticut graduate student, for also helping provide a historical perspective. So thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, please email me at gfiorava@hack.edu, and I invite you to come by the Institute and explore our collections. Thanks.